So here we go. Boss, 5-game rating. Okay, first game on the list. Oh yeah. First game on the list, Lords of the Fallen. This game was awesome. I don't know if anyone's ever played Dark Souls before, but Lords of the Fallen was basically the dumbed down version of Dark Souls. A lot less hours also. Dark Souls, actually, if you look right here, you kind of see that guy right there standing with the armor on, and that's the guy from Dark Souls right there. Yeah, you get to play with that guy. He's crazy. Yeah, so anyway, that's the Dark Souls guy. Lords of the Fallen was different. The story takes place with a guy called Harkin. It also falls back in the same time frame as like what Skyrim would be, maybe a Viking time frame where everyone still believes in like Valhalla and mythical creatures and dragons and magic and stuff like that. So anyway, Harkin is a character you take control of, and he has 3 classes you can choose him as. You can choose him as a cleric, a warrior, or I believe a mage. So there's 3 choices. And it doesn't really matter which one you choose, because once you level him all the way up, he's pretty much good at all capabilities, from what I noticed. But what I will say is that I played a lot of Lords of the Fallen, and I'll show you some gameplay here of my personal playthrough of one of the bosses I actually fought in Lords of the Fallen. The game.
What's up, guys? It's Dynamic with Boss Gaming Network. Today, bringing you the 3rd Warden takedown. So, I've already made 2 actual walkthroughs on how to take out the first Warden and the second Warden for Lords of the Fallen. So this is the actual 3rd Warden, and he's not as difficult as the first and second Warden, but he does have a move that is pretty much unstoppable. As you see here, I actually start walking up toward him and kind of like getting his gist, and he kind of like unleashes these sort of spikes out of the ground, which do a fair amount of damage, but they don't do too much. You can actually get hit by those and not worry too much. This right here, that move will stun you. He'll try and take you out that way. Just dodge and roll if you can. Get some hits in as much as possible. Now, the weapon I'm using right there, I actually got that out of a chest. That is the Quaymar staff, and that staff does about 100 damage each hit. So it is the most powerful weapon that I have found in a game thus far, like to date, since I've been playing Lords of the Fallen. Now, the move he's doing right now, you can't see it because I am doing Spectral Going Close there, Shelter. But you'll see him there in the background, and that move right there will kill you if you're not inside that little temple that I was standing inside of. It sort of protects you from all of his demonic magic that is surrounding the area once he starts to summon that special attack. So pretty much just keep moving around. He will summon a few soldiers. These are very similar to Marauders, like I showed in the second Warden video. They're pretty fast, they're quick attacking, but they are easy to take out, especially if you have the Quaymar staff, like what I'm using there. He does throw some sort of projectiles that do explode. They're more like grenades, actually. He throws like 4 of those, and they will explode. Those take a good amount of damage, but not too bad. You just basically have to get your attacks in before he does his ultimate. And like right now, these attacks are not that bad. You can survive these. You can actually do this whole entire fight, and as long as you know to go inside the temple and pretty much be protected from his ultimate attack, you have a really good chance of beating this guy. Like, I already have him down to 50% health. He's calling on his special attack right now. He's doing his ultimate, and you notice it because the ground will start giving off a blue aura. There's like a blue aura that will start going around the actual battleground, and you see I'm standing inside this temple. Boom, right there. He just released it, and I'm perfectly fine. I didn't lose any health whatsoever. So now I'm just going in, taking more damage. He's going to try and weaken you as much as possible, but like I said, this is probably one of the easiest wardens by far I've seen in Lords of the Fallen. Once you learn a little trick of getting inside the temple, it's an easy win. It's not hard at all. And yeah, I think. And okay, so he's gonna do his ultimate one more time. And I'll go inside the temple, wait it out for a bit, and you'll see. Okay, so yeah, that sucks. If you have to fight one of the soldiers inside the temple, you want to take them out as soon as possible because you don't want those guys to push you out, and he releases the actual ultimate because then you'll die instantly. There is no way of blocking that. There is nothing you can do. So anyway, he's down, and I defeated him, and that was probably, like I said, one of the quickest battles against any warden, Lords of the Fallen, that I've played against so far. Um, you receive your upgrade, your experience, power, so on and so forth. I don't think you get anything special from this. Actually, no, you do. You get some new armor, I believe, and there's like a bunch of items that'll be laying around the battlefield. So once you defeat this guy, just kind of take a look around everywhere before you actually move on to the next area. I think over by some of the grave sites in the back part of this map, you'll see some. Yeah, I got some experience right there too. You'll see some items laying around. All right, this item here, I think this a sealed rune. Sealed rune. And, okay, so Clawfinger. That's his. That's what you get. So you get a Clawfinger from this guy, and it looks like some sort of a great axe or attacker. That right there is your prize for defeating the third warrior.
Beautiful graphic detail. The weaponry, beautiful. Environments, done just like you would like to see any Skyrim game or medieval type of dragon fighting game, Viking setting. It's really nice. Basically, what you do in Lords of the Fallen is that Harkin is a prisoner. That's how the setting goes. And something happens to where, I guess, like there's mutations that release amongst the land. So Harkin somehow escapes out of his prison, because he's a prisoner. And you play with him. So he is like the hero slash bad guy, you know. And he's going around the castle that he is released from, and he makes his way outside, and he's fighting all these horrific creatures and mutations and everything like that. And he talks to people along the way, gets a little more and more information as he goes along. So anyway, the game is pretty much like Dark Souls. It's a building game to where you have to take risk, and the risk system works like you can't save whenever you want to. There is only certain points in the game where you can save. So if you like grind and like fight a bunch of characters and die, then you just lose all that experience. You don't get it back. You go back to your last save. So whenever you save the game, you have to basically build up as much, I guess, kills as you can before you save your game. Because each time you kill an enemy, there's like a multiplier. So if you kill one enemy, you get like 5 points. If you kill 2 enemies, you get 15 points. If you kill 3 enemies, you get 30 points. So it's like a multiplier. So the more enemies you kill and survive, the more points you get. Then you make it to a save point, and you put all these points that you acquired from killing all the enemies into the save point, which gives you more experience, which levels you up really fast, you know. Now, if you play the risk system too much, just like in Dark Souls, and you die before you make it to a save point, you may have killed like 8 or 9 different monsters or enemies, and you die right before you get to a save point, you lose all those points you got from fighting those monsters and enemies. So it's called a risk system. That is a risk. You're taking a risk. You're actually going out there and you're wasting your time, and you know you're trying to fight these difficult enemies, and you know if you survive, you get to keep the points. If you don't, well, hey, you got to start from where you were before the save point was saved. So, yeah, which sucks. But other than that, boss battles were really fun. Each boss had a specific way you had to fight them. There was a lot of story involved. I think they gave you a lot of folklore. They did a good job of filling you in on what was going on within the land. It wasn't a bad game. It didn't leave you in the dark with the story. The fighting system wasn't too bad as well. The graphic detail was smooth. Very colorful game. Environments were beautiful. It was a really good game. I like Lords of the Fallen. If I had to give Lords of the Fallen a rating, I would give Lords of the Fallen an 8. And eight's not too bad. Eight is actually pretty good. The reason why I give Lords of the Fallen an 8 is because it was a playoff of Dark Souls. And Dark Souls is a lot more difficult than Lords of the Fallen. Lords of the Fallen is kind of like a beginner's Dark Soul, Dark Souls game. If you think Dark Souls is too difficult, and or you just couldn't get used to Dark Souls, then Lords of the Fallen is definitely the game you want to play. Lords of the Fallen was more arcadey. It felt like an arcade game, whereas like Dark Souls is more like RPG. Like you played Dark Souls, you felt like you were in the grit of it all. Like, man, I gotta grind my way up out of this place. No, Lords of the Fallen, arcade style. You can literally build yourself up from 0 to 100 real quick. You can build yourself up really quick in Lords of the Fallen. Like, you could literally start out with nothing in like 30 minutes, be like the strongest guy on the map. As long as you didn't die and you played the risk system correctly. So, yeah, Lords of the Fallen 8, really good game. I loved it. It was a really good game. Okay. Next game. Oh yeah. Next game. This game just released last year. This game was called Final Fantasy. And I know everyone has heard of Final Fantasy because Final Fantasy has been out for like 20-something odd years. And it has won like so many gaming awards. It was like the biggest game in Japan for I don't know how long. Biggest game here in America for I don't know how long. And just a whole bunch of countries all over the world. It was a huge game. Final Fantasy 15. So here we go. Okay, so yeah, I played Final Fantasy 15. I actually beat Final Fantasy 15, and I only put like maybe 50 hours into it. I did a lot of side quests. It was a good game. I mean, it wasn't like Final Fantasy 13. I thought Final Fantasy 13 was the most linear Final Fantasy game I ever played in my entire life. I mean, but 15 was good. And the reason why I didn't say 14 because 14 is a MMO RPG, so I can't really compare the last game with the 15. 15 is more closely resembles 13. So anyway, 15 was good. You follow this guy named Noctis, and he has 3 of his buddies who are like his personal guard. Okay, and they follow this guy Noctis wherever he goes. They try and help him reestablish his kingdom because there's a fallout between his dad, which is the king, and I guess an opposing force kingdom that came to attack their kingdom. So the story takes place where Noctis is trying to reclaim his throne, So he has 3 of his friends, his compadres, and they go on their missions and they help you out in battle. And it's a live battle system. So basically, you're actually, when you get into battles, like it's not a wait system.
Last thing I need now. Eyes peeled, mouth closed. Hey, Ignis, instructions.
On your mark, Noct.
Nice guy. Gotcha. Ignis. Levi.
As good as his.
Moto! I'm impressed.
All in together now.
How about this? Gladio, do it! Nice work, Gladio! Farewell.
This sounds like you're having fun.
System. So there's a lot of moving. There's a lot of timing. It's a timing game. Basically, if you want to block, you have to time your block button, and you can block anything pretty much with Octus. If you want to time like a bonus attack or like a critical hit, you time it, hit the attack button, you get the critical hit every single time. So the game was about timing. If you were good at timing in Final Fantasy 15, then you had the game down pat. You never lost. You always had the best outcome in every scenario when it came to battle. Storyline was pretty good. I like the storyline. The character detail was really cool. The involvement with characters are really nice. The music. One of the best things about Final Fantasy 15, if you were a fan like me, I played every Final Fantasy 15 since part 1.
Love it, Scourge.
How many must die before you are satisfied?
have seen many deaths, but now I'm only looking forward to one. And then I can rest.
He will take responsibility, you know.
As must we all.
May the gods forgive me.
The first Final Fantasy I've ever played was back in, I think, the early 90s. The early 1990s is when I first played the first Final Fantasy. So, the latest one we're playing now just came out last year in 2016. So, I know all the music, is what I'm basically getting at. And the thing about Final Fantasy 15 is that to get from location to location, you drive a car. This car, I guess, was handed down to you by your father. Noctis receives his car from his father, the king. And in this car, when you're going between locations, you can play old Final Fantasy game music from like the old Final Fantasy games from like back in the 90s. So this is pretty cool. So I'm listening to music that I haven't heard since I was like a teenager on my PS4. I'm like, wow, like I remember that song. That was the battle music from like Final Fantasy 6. I remember that. It was like really cool to hear that and to be driving this car, you know, in 2016 within the game of Final Fantasy 15. So it was really awesome. I'm like, wow, that was one of the best parts. For me, the memorabilia of that was like one of the best things. That was like an extra added bonus, like, you know, for me buying the game. It was like because they played older music from older games from like 15, 20 years ago. The whole track list. I mean, like, it wasn't just like one or two songs. It was like each Final Fantasy's soundtrack was in you can buy the CDs at local gas stations within Final Fantasy 15. And you could stop at a gas station and you had to put gas in the car. The car had to take gas. You couldn't just travel location to location. You had to put gas in the vehicle to keep moving. You could literally run out of gas while traveling between locations or missions. And you would have to push your car with the three of your friends, you know, to the next gas station. Like that's how much realism they put into it. And there were also smartphones in the game. I think they kind of took it too far with the smartphones. That was kind of like, whoa, wait a minute, you know, like, but it was a really good game. Yeah, the music soundtrack, being able to buy CDs at local gas stations from different Final Fantasies from the past and play them in your car while traveling, that was pretty cool. The boss battles were really fun. It reminded me a lot of Final Fantasy battle systems, you know. The only thing I didn't like about it was the summons. The summons in Final Fantasy 15 were kind of dumbed down. They weren't like, you know, awesome. Like if you remember Final Fantasy 7, you know, everyone remembers like Bahamut, right? You know, he's pretty much in all the Final Fantasies. He's like the summon everyone remembers. The summons in Final Fantasy 15 kind of came when they wanted to. It was kind of like a sporadic thing, and when it happened, it was kind of like, you know, yeah, I would have rather just finished fighting with myself. It wasn't that climatic. It was okay, thanks. You know, I don't know. I've seen better summons in older games, older consoles. I mean, like, okay. So basically, giving Final Fantasy 15 an 8.5. The developers for Final Fantasy 15 were Square Enix, and Square Enix used to be two separate companies. Square used to make the original Final Fantasies back in the 90s, and then eventually Enix made their own RPGs as well, but eventually they merged and they became Square Enix, and that's what we have nowadays. And I think these guys do awesome. They continue the Final Fantasy series the way that all the fans still love it and still enjoy it. So great developing company, one of my favorite developing companies, Square Enix. Good developers. They make great video games, especially RPG wise. So yeah, definitely. Okay, 8.5, Final Fantasy 15. Okay. All right, next game is going to be a VR game. So we're going to the VR now, guys. VR. Okay, so this game is called, and I spoke about this game in the previous episode of Boss Gaming Network. This game is called Robinson the Journey. Okay, Robinson the Journey. This game was about a space traveler. Okay, he basically crash landed onto a planet. I think I said this in the last episode, and he basically had no contact with I guess, the other human colony that he came from, or his surrounding partners within the galaxy or the solar system or whatever the case may be. So he lands on this planet, which is really similar to Earth, but it's just not similar to any era of Earth. It's similar to the Jurassic period of Earth. So there are actual dinosaurs roaming this planet. He has to actually survive. He's been surviving because when the game takes place, you're already
This is pod 3091659, broadcasting on all frequencies. If there are any other survivors out there, let me know.
Achieved with CryEngine.
in a safe area on the planet. It's pretty much high up. You're like in a mountain cavern system sort of thing, to where I guess meat-eating dinosaurs can't reach you. And you have some technology with you from your crashed ship. You know, you can process food, process minerals. You know, you can create fire. You can, you know, he has a good amount of technology with him already. But he also, at some point, captured a Tyrannosaurus's egg, and he hatched it. So he has a partner with him. It's a female Tyrannosaurus baby, which stands about maybe 5 foot. But it's like your pet. It does things for you. You use this this baby Tyrannosaurus to help you with specific missions in some cases, to fetch things for you, to bring things to you. At one point in the game, it even has to fight a little bit for you. And it's really interesting how the whole game plays out. It's one of the first VR games that released when VR came out last year. Oh, well, not last year, 2016. Forgot it's 2018 now. 2016, Robinson Journey released in. So, yeah, I believe the game was visually, it was great. It felt like you were playing Jurassic Park. You know, like I was saying before in the previous episode of Boss Gaming Network, your best bet of survival was staying high. You had to stay high up in trees or in high areas. If you try to go low or stay on the ground, you were more than likely to be eaten by a velociraptor. Plain and simple. I mean, simple as that. And when you were in the trees, you had to avoid pterodactyls or any flying type of creatures. Everything was speed, movement, and knowing when to hide and such like that. It was a great game visually. Felt like you were playing Jurassic Park. You know, one of the best feelings I ever had. Now, mind you, you're playing this game with a VR headset on, so it's not like you're, you know, how can I say this? You can. It does give you the option to play with a controller, so you can play Robinson's Journey with the controller. You know, which I think is easier. The wand I thought was more difficult, if you ask me. I tried to play with both of the wands for the PS4, and it's like you're trying to reach, you know, because you have to do a lot of climbing in the game itself, and you have to actually reach with the wand so that the character grabs onto a ledge and pulls himself up. Now the thing is that if you're when you're using a wand, you're trying to reach, and the character's hand is doing this, but he's not grabbing the ledge. So you're sitting there with the wand like you're doing an aerobic exercise in your living room. It's like, come on, grab the ledge, right? So this VR game was interesting. It was a lot of hand motion, movement, grabbing, so on and so forth, blah blah. And one thing I did not like about the game was there was a lot of motion sickness. I never thought I would get motion sickness from a VR game, but this game gives you motion sickness. I literally was climbing, I think sideways to the right. I was going to the right, climbing with my wands going, and the character's climbing on the side of the wall, and the movement was so rapid and so fluid that it made me feel dizzy. I literally had to stop sometime in the middle of playing and sit there just so my brain could get back into normal focus and then continue climbing. Like, the game had a lot of dizzy spells in it. I mean, I don't know if they can fix that in the future, but a lot of VR games are like that. If you play a lot of VR games where you're doing first person, and you're kind of like moving around, you gotta do a lot of rapid movement. There have been a lot of accounts of people stating that you will get dizzy. You will feel nausea, basically. In my case, I just felt dizzy. I didn't feel nausea. I never got like sick to my stomach. It was always something like if you spin in a circle like 10 times and you stop, that feeling. That's the feeling I get from playing Robinson's Journey when climbing like a lot. If you're doing more than normal climbing, if it's like a little bit of climbing, it's fine. But a lot of scenarios, you have to climb a lot in Robinson's Journey, and I just found myself kind of waiting at some points because, the dizziness from just moving, and you're looking, you're checking your six, you're looking here, you're looking not right, left and right, you're climbing, and it makes you dizzy. So yeah, I didn't like that about the game. One thing was the character design, or I shouldn't say character, the dinosaur design was awesome, and the environment was beautiful. I mean, I remember being in like the swamp pits where like they had the tar pits. They had a tar pit area where the brontosauruses were at, and they were like feeding on trees, and the tar looked so real. I didn't even want to.
Robin, your friend has led us into a bit of a situation. Are you ready to play a little game? Okay. The name of the game is Let's Not Get Squashed. 2 simple rules. Follow me closely and do as I say. Got it? Now the game begins. Stop. Bear left. Through we go. That was close. Stop. Robin, are you ready for a different game?
Achieved with CryEngine.
Like get into it. I felt like if you jumped into it, you would die, and that was the case. I actually tried to jump into it, and I did die. But anyway, I continued playing the game, and the brontosauruses look so awesome. There's one point where you have to like save one of the baby brontosauruses, like you just kind of like help them out with a little bit of your technology to help them get back to like the parents of the brontosauruses and everything. It's really cool. Like the game has a lot of great graphical detail, and the sound is amazing. Like that's one thing about VR. When you put the headset on, you're actually hearing surround sound for the game. So you're getting like some of the best composers' music, like right there in your ear stream. This is so badass. It's awesome. So that's why VR is like one of my main focuses, man, because this is like the correct step toward gaming. This is like the direction that it should have been going like for the last 10 years, but we're doing it now. So it's good. Robinson's Journey. I want to get, there's one more thing about Robinson's Journey. a lot of the game you have to figure out on your own. There is like no objective point. There is like no arrow to like basically tell you like, hey, you gotta go down this way. You gotta go through this jungle to complete the next task. Nothing tells you what to do. You literally have to like figure it out on your own. I literally wandered around one part of the forest for like 2 hours before I figured out I had to go under some waterfall or something like that to access the next area. And I'm like, really? I'm like, man, that's all I had to do? Like, nothing tells you. There is no real hint. You know, you just have to play the game. The game will, I guess, if you play enough of it, you'll just figure it out. But really cool game, really good idea. You know, the technology in the game is, and they explain the dinosaurs to you. Your computer will give you full interaction with the system to let you know, like, hey, you know, this dinosaur's name is this and that. They lived in this period. They ate this type of food. You know, they'll give you videos. You know, like the computer, the technology still has like with him. You can view, and it's like it's really cool. Like little cutscenes and clips. You know, and you can unlock like special bonuses if you get enough of those unlocked and watch enough of those videos. So it's really awesome. And you get one of the main things in Robinson's Journey is that you have to collect DNA. So as you're going along, you have a little gun. This little gun also it can move things like kind of like telekinesis, which helps you complete like little missions and little puzzles. But it also collects DNA. So if you see something moving or walking along the way, you can actually put your gun on it and you can scan with a certain button and collect this DNA. You collect enough DNA and you get the entire makeup of that animal, and it goes into your dialogues, I guess, of your data back in your broke down ship back at you know your location where you were in the Cavern Mountains. So it's pretty interesting how the game plays out, the storyline, the whole idea of where it takes off at. It kind of reminds me of Subnautica. I don't know if anyone remembers Subnautica, where you know you kind of crash land on the planet, but it's like a much bigger ship. You know, the actual whole entire like planet ship like crashed into this planet, and it's a water world. Like there's no land whatsoever. It's just, the entire planet's like Earth, but it's completely covered in water. So it's like all the old marine prehistoric animals from like you know the water era of Earth.
Activating emergency CPR. Vital signs stabilizing.
It's very similar. Subnautica was good too. Do that in another episode. But Journey. Robinson the Journey. Really interesting game. If you ever get a VR or if you want to check out footage, check out the game. It's basically Jurassic Park on VR. It's really fun. Okay, so I want to give that game a rating of 8. You know, and I think 8 is pretty good. It's you know one of the first games that released in VR, and I think it did pretty good on introducing what VR was capable of. So definitely, Robinson's Journey. All right, so next game. This game was an arcade game, and it released on PS4. I believe it was exclusive. This game was really interesting. It was based after the makers who created Journey, and and not the last Journey I spoke of. The last Journey I spoke of was a VR game. There was a Journey on PS3 where you kind of played with like this character who like wore a cloak and kind of like glided through the desert, and you had to like solve like these puzzles, and at the end of Journey you kind of like I guess discover the meaning of life or whatever the case may be for that character. Visually, it was a great game. It was basically a visual game. It just looks beautiful. It showed PS4's ability to, I guess, like choreograph colors and environments in a musical set tones, because the music actually worked with the environments as well. Kind of like Rayman Legends, how Rayman Legends kind of like the game, the way you played the game kind of affected how the music would sound. It was kind of exactly how Abzu was. Abzu followed right behind its predecessor, Journey, the other Journey, basically from PS3. Abzu took the form of you being in the ocean. It was, once again, one of those games where there's no land. The entire game takes place in the ocean. Okay, so one thing about Abzu was that it showed you graphic detail what Journey showed on land, but it showed it underwater. So it was way more colorful, way more fluent. The music was even composed by the same music composer who did the music for Journey and PS3. So it's like you're getting good sounds. You're actually adding on to the sound with the way you play the game. There were a lot of sea animals in this game, and each level you progressed, or each portion of the map you accessed that was new, there would be newer sea creatures and newer animals. I mean, you would even come across like a killer whale or a team of killer whales, and you could like study them, and like it would give you detailed information on like what an orca. Information on them. And you can like get off of that. You can even ride them. You can grab their fin and like you can even control them like as you're like swimming through the water, and the orca will take you where you want to go. So it was more of like a visual based game, like more of like a stunning, like wow, there was no real meaning to the game. Like I think the story was something about like he was trying to figure out like why he was there or something like that, and it never really gave you like a full description. One thing I didn't like about Abzu was that it didn't really give you like any real details to like what the game was about. You got a lot of hints here and there, just like Journey. Journey was the same way. It was one of those games where like you kind of like just had to imagine like what was going on in the story, but the visuals were so incredible. The music was so awesome, composed wise, and And also the way you got detailed information on sea life, you know, like they even one part of the game I remember finding like an old open cavern underwater that hadn't been explored, I guess, in thousands of years, and there were like actual prehistoric like sea life down there. Like, you know, you'll find like that fish that's still over in Madagascar right now. They just found out it's still alive. It's like 300,000 years old, like today. So they just figured it out. That fish is in one of the game in the part of Abzu where you actually, and they'll tell you the detail description of it. You'll even see some dinosaur sea life in the water in some of those parts. So yeah, I mean, blue whales, humpback whales. I mean, there's a lot of musical scenes involved. I mean, it's a beautiful game. Abzu is definitely awesome. I mean, one thing I will say is that if you want to like show off in front of your friends, or like you want to show like a family member, like, hey, you know, look what my PS4 can do. Abzu's the perfect game, you know, because it's easy to play. It's not difficult. All you're doing is swimming through the water and you're just progressing, you know, and you get like these little robot guys that actually assist you as you progress through the game, and they kind of like tell you where to go. So that's like your objective pointer, I should say. But yeah, definitely. If you want to show off the power of your PS4, Abzu, definitely a good game to try out. I give Abzu an 8. Abzu is an 8. Easy to play, you know, not hard at all. Anyone can play it, a child, an adult. Fun, visually beautiful, good music, everything. Okay, all right. So next game for the Boss 5 game rating is one of my favorite. I actually bought this game downloadable because I liked the idea of it so much. I didn't go and like buy the disc copy, because I usually buy new games as a disc. In case I don't like it, I can always trade it in and get some money back, or I can put it toward a new game and get the chance to play another game. In this case, I literally bought this game downloadable, so I didn't get the disc. Like, when I bought this game, I pretty much told myself, I'm keeping this game forever. I bought it as a downloadable version. And this game is called Evolve. Evolve was awesome. Okay, so the way Evolve worked, Evolve was like, there were monsters basically taking over this planet, right? And the humans were sent in to try, I guess, eradicate these monsters and capture them. out of control, and before they start breeding more monsters, right? So the idea of it was cool. It was a multiplayer game, and it didn't have to be multiplayer. You could have played with a computer as well too. It was a multiplayer game, and the way Evolve worked was one person out of all the real people playing the game would choose to be the monster. Okay, so and you had like 4 or 5 different monsters you could choose from, and all of them had special abilities, and they had their own set like fighting stances and how they did things and special attacks and all that stuff. So one person out of everyone would choose to be the monster, and the rest of the people, the 4 other players, they would choose to be like the team that hunts the monster. So it was really cool. It was like, it was like 4 people hunting their friend. So okay, and it kind of randomly chose who was going to be the monster. Like you had an option to choose if you wanted to be a human or a monster, but if you didn't choose fast enough, the computer would just make you be the monster, and your friends would be like the humans hunting you. So the game really was fun because you'll have a friend that running around with the monster on this map, and you don't know where he is, and the map was really detailed. Like you'll be like in places like the Grand Canyon, or like somewhere like South America jungles. Like you couldn't really see anything. It's like you're just kind of like you'll hear noises of like heavy footsteps and like jumping and all that stuff, and you'll be like, yeah, the monster's that way. So everyone runs in that direction to look for the monster, and he'll be gone, and all you will see like is a carcass, like because the whole thing.
The monster has evolved.
Was that the monster would have to eat animals that roam the land to evolve to its next form of being a monster. So this was pretty interesting. So basically, if you wanted your monster to grow, and it was 3 levels usually, your monster started out small. That was the first level. If you ate enough wildlife or animals roaming the land, then you go to level 2. And then if you ate some more wildlife, in the case of it, you'll make it to level 3. Level 3 was usually the last level. You get you're like your final stage. You're like evolved completely. You're like this huge monster with all these ripping muscles. You got spikes coming out your body, or electricity everywhere. And usually, if a monster got to level 3, it was pretty much game over. The team of hunters pretty much could not. They would have a hard time trying to take down a level 3 monster. You want to try and take out the monster around level 1, level 2, but by the time it gets to level 3, it's a problem, because what starts happening is that the monster can start calling newer monsters, and they're usually AI, to help him basically take down the hunters even faster. See, the monster's objective is to destroy usually like a facility on the map. Once he hits level 3, he goes after the facility and tries to take the facility out. The hunter's objective is to kill the monster before the monster reaches any level 3 or even gets a chance to even get to the facility. So it's a really good game between your friends. It's a lot of back and forth. Usually when you play Evolve, you're playing for a good amount of hours. This is not a game you play like, 30 minutes and you're like, all right, thanks guys, and you get off. Like, you really get involved in it. You're like, okay, look, when it's a ranking system, the more you play Evolve, the stronger your personal monster gets when you play with monsters, and the stronger your personal hunters get when you play with whatever hunter there is. And I think it's a total of like maybe 8 or 10 different hunters in the game you can choose from, and they all have special abilities and special attacks and how they play and everything. So tracking systems and all that. So Evolve is a really, really good game. Like I said, it's one of the few games I actually bought as a downloadable. I did not buy the disc. Like, I purposely bought this game to keep it for life. Like, it's going to stay with me. Like, there is no disc copy. Yeah, so Evolve, definitely check it out. Okay, guys. So if I had to give Evolve a rating, even though the game could be a lot more smoother, the game does have a lot of frame rate drops, I should say. It does run good at 30 frame rate. I think it would run better a little higher, but all in all, the game is good. It does meet its accomplishment of having hunters versus monsters, and your friends basically choosing between monsters and hunters, and having this good old fun between buddies and fighting on different maps and such and so forth. And it's really fun. Even with the AI, it's fun. The game is really good. So I'm going to go ahead and give Evolve a rating of 8.5. And I know a lot of people are probably like, what, Evolve? Like, this is the thing. When you first started Evolve, when you first got the game is kind of slow. You can't really experience what Evolve really was about. And what I mean by what Evolve really was about, I mean like the full capability of the hunters, the full capability of the monsters. You couldn't really experience it until after putting numerous hours in the game and leveling up, because there's a level up system in the game. Each time you play, you earn experience toward your hunters or your monsters. So you had to play the game. And then once you got about maybe 30 hours of the game in, then you start noticing the power difference between an experienced monster hunter versus a brand new person just starting the game. So Evolve was good. You just had to give it time. And I was a person that gave it time. I like the idea, the concept of the game itself. The game was good. So that's why I give it 8.5. But that's usually, like I said, you have to put some hours into it before you got to that point. Really good game. 8.5, Evolve. Okay, guys. So that's the Boss 5 game rating. I hope you enjoyed the games that I chose. These are games that I actually have personal experience with. I do own these games, and they are really enjoyable. Usually you won't see me rate a bad game unless I specifically want to try and direct you not to play it if it's just a waste of money, because we don't want developers out there dropping nonsense games for no reason, right? Okay, so basically, this is going to conclude this episode of Boss Gaming Network. There is one other game I want to speak on before we finish this, and that is let's see. Alright, and that is Guild Wars 2. Yes, I'm taking it to the PC. The PC game Guild Wars 2 is phenomenal. It literally blows Guild Wars 1 out of the water. Guild Wars 2 was phenomenal. This is the game that kind of like drew me away from World of Warcraft. I used to be a big World of Warcraft fan back in like 2010, early 2000s as well. I kind of went in and off on it, but I have like 8 characters in World of Warcraft, whatever. I even have a Death Knight, if anyone knows what that means. But this game literally took me away from World of Warcraft. Guild Wars 2 was insanely awesome. And the best part about it, there was no monthly fee. You did not have to pay the $15 a month to play online with randoms or your friends. It was a really good game. Guild Wars 2 was awesome. As you can see, I still own the game. The cartridge is actually still there, as you can see. Still have it. So, yeah. I still play this on my PC now. Character design. The game wasn't like a normal 3D game. The game was based more like in a water paint water paint type setting. It's almost as if like you went to an art school and the teacher was like, all right, everyone start drawing Guild War 2 characters. And everyone's just like with their water paint. And they're like, yeah, okay, that's the game. The game was that beautiful. It looked like water paint. It didn't look like 3D graphics. Like someone sat there and like went on the computer and like built it on like, you know, their little Photoshop.
I am Silvari. 25 years ago, my people first appeared in Tyria. The pale tree flowered, and the firstborn awakened. The dream contains my race's memories. We gain awareness here, and then awaken into the world. The dream fills me with knowledge, and is my connection to others. It is my inspiration, my guiding light. While here, I have discovered my purpose, to face evil and destroy it. Even now, I sense my destiny calling me to awaken. My time is soon. Nature and goodness are under siege. All life hangs in the balance. If Tyria is to survive, it will need us. If we fail, the dream will be consumed by nothing, and Tyria will wither and die. I dream of voyages. The voices of my people whisper to me of far-off places and mysterious shores. A white stag races before me, brave and wild. It offers me the gift of freedom. The dream hints at my future. There are distant lands and dangerous challenges, but also I see my home, a grove with a white tree, and friends who will stand by me when I need them. My honor dictates that I help those who are lost and alone. I am the protector. I hear my name in the wind, and I feel the call of my future. And yet I sense darkness approaching. Something intrudes upon the dream. It blocks the path to my awakening. Before I can enter the world, I must first face this evil and vanquish it. I am summoned by the dream. This is my story.
This was like a beautiful, 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 astonishing game. Open world. The world was huge. The load times weren't that slow. They also had a feature that I haven't seen in any other MMO RPG. This is an MMO RPG. Massive multiplayer online role-playing game. MMO RPG. So they had one game on here. They had one mode on this game, the multiplayer, called World versus World. And I'm like, what the heck is that? What is World versus World? versus world is literally 1,000 players on one side of this huge map and another 1,000 players on the other side of this huge map, and everyone just collides. Like, boom! You get this huge battle going on between, like, literally, like, 1,000 players. Like, it's insane. Like, it's just really insane. I think it's like, it could be like 500 on each side. I think it's a total of 1,000 players. I don't know if it's 1,000 on each side. All I know is that it reaches 1,000 players. Okay, and they're all battling on this huge map, and everyone's kind of like, I guess, trying to attain like certain, instances they're trying to go against while fighting the opposing army. So, and each player is an actual person. It isn't like some of these are computer. I mean, yeah, you got your NPC enemies, like for the instances, when you're fighting against the instances to get the buff or whatever the case may be, you know, to help you push back the army. But the thing is that there's literally like 1,000 players fighting each other in this huge map. It is insane. I've never seen that until I seen this game, Guild Wars 2. I was kind of shocked by that world versus world. Like, do you understand how serious your server has to be? Like, their server must be like worth like $1 million. Like, they must have like the most expensive server in the world. Like, Google is probably like drooling over the server. Like, man, these guys got 1,000 players going on this MMORPG. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, it's crazy. Like, this game is insane. It's good. It looks beautiful. The character design, the background story. You can even... create the background story for your character. Like if you wanted him to be like a warrior from like the warrior clan of the ninja, and you know, and he somehow made it into like, you know, the waterways of the whatever, like the water carrier people, whatever the case may be. Like you can actually create the background of your character. Have that be the background of it. Go through the game with that background. Even to have the look and how the people of where he came from look, and you can just pretty much like detail and describe everything on your own for your character. So there's so many different customizable ways to make a character. You'll see so many people running around with so many different, just like diverse like characters running around the world. Like as you're going through Guild Wars 2, it's insane. It's really good game. You don't have to pay the monthly charge like World of Warcraft did. It charged you $15 a month when it did. You know, for it might be cheaper now. I don't know. They're trying to get their members back. But yeah, this game you just paid the initial cost for the game, which was I believe it was $60. This game was $60. But that was it. You paid the $60 and you could play whenever you wanted. And you know, if you wanted to you know, get DLC or buy in-game content, then I mean, like, you know, special stuff like, you know, colors for your outfits or whatever the case may be, then yeah, you'll pay more money like that. But no, you didn't have to. Like, you just paid $60 and you can just play the game with your friends. Like, you can literally like start up a world of you know, Guild Wars 2. Really cool game. Really good. Loved it. Liked this game a whole lot. Definitely give it a major props. PC game. Okay. All right, guys. That's going to conclude this episode of Boss Gaming Network. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with Dynamic 2839. So from this point on, you can contact me through the email. You'll see that here at the end of the show. Or you can text the phone number that'll also be at the end of the show. My gamer tag is Dynamic2839. And then it's across all consoles. That'll be PSN, Xbox, Nintendo ID, and my Steam account. And if you have any questions, definitely feel free to ask me anything. I have a lot of gaming knowledge. All right, guys. Thanks for stopping by. And as always, boss up.